So the next presentation is from our gold sponsor, Veeam. Mr. Islam Afifi, who's the regional pre-sales manager, will be taking the stage for the next presentation. He's been helping large organizations to achieve their backup, recovery, DR, and ransomware protection strategies during his 5-year journey with Veeam Software. He's also certified on many public cloud platforms, virtualization platforms, storage arrays, and backup solutions. Also, previously, Islam was the pre-sales manager and backup storage solutions architect for an international systems integrator in the Middle East, where his main role was the design and integration of private cloud systems. Over to you, Mr. Islam.
Thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to be with everyone today. I hope you enjoyed the previous sessions. I've seen a very interesting discussion lately about cybersecurity, and today my session is actually aligned to the same subject of this summit. So let me share my screen, and then we can start talking about Veeam. Cybersecurity is definitely one of the very important topics and on the top of the priority list of every IT organization. And today, I'm coming to you to discuss a very important point. Are you ready to recover from a ransomware attack? A very difficult question to answer, and there are so many challenges involved in answering this question. So basically, let's go through these challenges and see together today if Veeam will be helping you to address all of these challenges. So first of all, is my backup data protected against ransomware? What security measures or framework have we implemented in our IT organization to protect our data against ransomware? Do we have the answer for such question or not? Another question that is very important from a recovery point of view, how fast we can recover our operation in case we are under attack, in case we have any failure in our production environment. The third point that is also important is my backup data protected, or if my backup data is protected against ransomware. How could we guarantee that the backup data is reliable? It doesn't have any corrupted blocks, and we can rely on these created restore points by Veeam or maybe the backup solution that you have in place in order to recover our operation. Another important question from reliability point of view also is how often are we performing these test restores to make sure that our backup data is recoverable? And is there any way that we can automate the test restore process? Another thing, from compliance point of view and from auditing point of view, do we have any reports showing the results of these performed restore tests or not? What is the DR strategy in place? So we've got the backup solution in the primary site. We have created our backup policies. We have verified that we can recover our operation. Our backups is protected against ransomware. But what about our disaster recovery strategy? Are we ready to fail over to disaster recovery site? Another very important question from the disaster recovery readiness point of view. How often are we performing the DR drill? And can we perform the DR drill in an undisruptive way, or we have to take our production workloads offline and then switch the operation to the DR site and then perform the test and so on, which definitely is not recommended for any business to be taken offline for a long time. In addition to this, another important point also from compliance and auditing point of view, we need most of the time to prove to the auditing team that we are performing the DR drill based on the business requirements, and we need to show them the details of the performed DR drill, whether it was successful, what is included in our DR drill operation, what services are we testing when we perform that switch over to the DR drill. So, as we all know, ransomware protection is extremely important, but there are so many other capabilities that we believe has to be there in the backup tool of our choice in order to make sure that we have the complete set of solution capabilities that can provide us with the required recovery point objective, the required recovery time objective, the ease of use, the simplicity of use, and on top of that, everything has to be protected against malicious software or against malicious attacks or maybe ransomware attacks as well. So that's why let me give you a quick overview about Veeam portfolio, and then we're going to talk in more details about Veeam protection against ransomware. So if we look at Veeam, Veeam is a US-based company founded in 2006, and we started selling our first license actually in 2008. We started our company as the first solution that was built from the ground up to provide a unique way for protecting virtual environment. And since then, we've been adding more and more to our portfolio to protect different types of workloads that I'm going to cover. And from customers' point of view, we are very proud to say that we have more than 450,000 customers worldwide, and we're adding around more than 4,000 customers every year or every month, I mean. Why, another important point that we have in this slide is the level of satisfaction. So one of the very important things that we are very proud of is the level of satisfaction we're getting from our customers. So we can say that our Net Promoter Score is almost double the industry average. And this means that out of every 10 Veeam customers, 9 of them are actually recommending Veeam to business partners and colleagues and so on. Why? Because if we look at the key pillars that we have in Veeam platform, it's very simple. You can get Veeam up and running in less than 1 hour. It's a very flexible solution. Every component within our solution portfolio is software defined. This means that we don't have any hardware lock-in. We don't have any specific requirements, specific hardware in order to provide you with all our feature set within the solution. So we will not tell you that in order to have this functionality, you need to have this storage in place or something like that. In addition to this, and more importantly, the reliability that we give to our customer, every single restore point we create for you, we can make this restore point reliable. How? Because we actually perform an automated test restore on your behalf. So that's why we can mark those restore points as reliable, and you can rely on them later on to recover your operation. In addition to this, how fast we can recover our operation, this is something that we are very proud of. We have actually invented the instant recovery for virtual machines, and we have extended this instant recovery to almost all the workload types that you might have in your data center, and I'm going to talk about this in more details. Last but not least, ransomware protection. The data that we create for you is protected against ransomware across all the tiers or the backup copies that we create for you. So we always recommend our customers to follow the strategy of 3 to 1 in terms of backup copies to have. So 3 copies of the data. First one is the production, and then 2 backup copies, 1 in the primary site, and a secondary one could be in the remote site or maybe in the cloud. While the 1 and 0 here that we can see at the end are basically referring to an error-free backup, which is verified by Veeam, and 0 also, it's completely ransomware protected, and there is no actually chance for failing when you perform the recovery if your production environment is down due to an attack or maybe due to any other reason. If we look at Veeam evaluation by Gartner and others, here on the left-hand side, we can see the Gartner report as of June 2022, the most recent report of Gartner, where we will find Veeam on top of the Magic Quadrant of Gartner, and this is not something new. We have been on the top of the Magic Quadrant for 6 years in a row. Well, if we look also at IDC, we have the #1 market share across the entire EMEA, and the gap between Veeam and the other vendors in the market is increasing year over year. from protection and the recovery point of view, what is included in Veeam platform? Basically, this is a backup and disaster recovery solution for physical, virtual applications, maybe SaaS solutions like 365 or Salesforce, in addition to public cloud workloads that could be infrastructure as a service, or it could be platform as a service, and so on. So we have the backup and recovery for these different types of workloads with very deep visibility that we can provide you in terms of dashboards or maybe reports on the protected environment, as well as the backup data that we have created for you. In addition to the disaster recovery part, which allows us to have failover plans and verification of these failover plans and performing also the DR drill when needed. So it's a ransomware protected backup, very simple, flexible, reliable, and powerful as well. If we dive deeper and zoom in on every one of those different workload types that we have just spoken about, if we look here at the virtual environment, and we have here a sample of the hypervisors that we can protect, basically VMware or Hyper-V, Nutanix, Acropolis hypervisor. It could be Red Hat virtualization or any other type of the hypervisors that you might have in your environment. In addition to this, for the SaaS workloads, Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 is widely used by hundreds of thousands of customers, and it can protect Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, as well as Microsoft Teams. This is in addition to the backup of Salesforce. If we look at the public cloud, and we all know that the adoption of the public cloud is increasing every day. So Veeam has the right tools actually to protect different types of workloads on the public clouds, whether it's AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. For Kubernetes also, if we look at Veeam casting solution, it's the #1 solution for protecting Kubernetes, whether Kubernetes is deployed on-prem on distributions like OpenShift or Tanzu or maybe Rancher. It doesn't really matter. It's fully supported. Also, it's supported on the public cloud as well if we have our Kubernetes environment hosted on one of those public cloud service providers or others. If we look in more depth about the capabilities, particularly for Kubernetes, we provide you with backup, disaster recovery, recovery of your clusters to the original location or maybe alternative location, in addition to the application mobility as well. While here for the other types of workloads that can be protected using Veeam, if we have some physical servers in our environment running Windows or maybe Linux or Solaris or AIX or Mac operating system, Veeam can protect these workloads as well. And when I say Veeam can protect these workloads, with every one of those workload types, we have a unique way that can help you to get your work done and achieve your business requirements in a very short and smart way as well, from a backup point of view and from recovery point of view. In addition to this, if we look at the unstructured part of the environment, maybe you have NAS shares providing Windows file sharing service or maybe NFS file sharing services to your end users, Veeam can also protect the NAS shares. And we have here addressed all the challenges that you might have faced earlier with using the legacy tools to protect NAS shares, maybe using NDMP protocol. So if you would like to get more details about that, you can reach out to us, the Veeam team, you can reach out to me and I can share more details. But definitely this is not the right time for that. From applications point of view, you name it, all the enterprise applications, regardless of the architecture, so Oracle standalone, Oracle RAC, SAP HANA, SAP on database, and definitely all the Microsoft products. One of the key things also that we always consider when we design our tools is the mobility of the data. We believe that the data is the customer's property. You own it and you control it. So If today you're backing up your data and you're running your operation on maybe X service provider, and you're using Veeam to back up this data, we give you the option to seamlessly migrate the data that has been backed up on that public cloud service provider to another public cloud service provider. The same for the data that you back up on-prem as well. So if you're using Veeam to protect your, let's say, VMware or maybe Linux and Windows physical servers as well, you can use Veeam to do directly restore to public cloud service provider. So seamless migration from on-prem to the cloud, from public cloud back to on-prem and across public clouds as well, without any hardware specific requirements. And in addition to this, from licensing point of view, it's just the same license file that we use to protect almost all those workload types. So you can protect your VMware environment today and use Veeam to migrate it to Azure or AWS seamlessly, and you can still use the same license, and then you can later on migrate from that public cloud service provider to another one. So basically, no lock-in from licensing point of view from the cloud platform that you are using as well. Now let's talk about ransomware frequency. And if you're not aware, actually, every year we do a survey for more than 3,000 of our customers from different organizations, where we ask them many questions to generate our yearly data protection and ransomware protection reports. So I highly recommend you, please, to spend some time reading these reports online. But definitely today, I'm not going actually to talk about all the questions included in these reports. I'm going to focus only on one single question. How many ransomware attacks has your organization suffered in the last 12 months? So if we look at the answers we received from those 3,000 plus customers, 76% of those customers answered that they have encountered at least one ransomware attack over the last year. While in reality, if we look at the other 24%, they are likely unaware of the attacks they have been facing on continuous basis. And this means what? It means that having a backup tool in place that can protect our backups against ransomware is very important, because we all know that protected backups are our last line of defense. So for that reason, if we look at Veeam portfolio, in fact, we are aligning and building our capabilities around one of the very well-known and industry-leading cybersecurity frameworks called NIST. So if we look at the capabilities included in that NIST cybersecurity framework, it has capabilities for protection using snapshots, using ransomware protection, using virtual machine replication, continuous data protection, so many capabilities to help us to achieve our backup strategy in different ways. In addition to this, it has also the availability capabilities where we can reduce the downtime whenever we need to recover our operation using instant recovery, using secure restore, and maybe creating multiple copies of the data whenever needed. So now let's see in more details how can Veeam protect data against ransomware. And before I start talking about how Veeam will do this, if we look at the data protection domain and in the market now, and you might have seen other tools as well, you will see that some other vendors are talking about ransomware protection. But when it comes to the requirements, you need to have a specific piece of hardware. While in Veeam, again, as we are always saying, every single component in our tool is software defined. So we don't need to have any specific hardware requirements in order to help you to have ransomware protection. So if we look at our backup target in Veeam, it's a software-defined storage feature that we call it the scale-out repository. So it's just like a virtual container that can have multiple tiers, And the primary tier that we use as the primary target for our backups is basically a Linux-based storage. It could be a Linux server with some internal disk storage or a DAS, or it could be a Linux box connected to a SAN storage. And guess what? Once we have this in place, we can just take the box to make the backups created on that primary backup disk storage immutable. So at any point of time, whenever you have a ransomware attack, this data can help you, this backups, this restore points that you have created, you can just go ahead and recover your operation from these ransomware protected backups. In addition to this, the secondary and the third tier will definitely help you create the secondary and the third copies of your backups. Whether you would like to create the secondary copy of the data on an S3 compatible storage within your data center and then mark the backups as immutable, or you can integrate with an S3 bucket on AWS and use it as the secondary target for your data, make the data immutable as well, and then for longer retention requirements, you could also be using AWS S3 Glacier. As simple as this, you've got your backups protected without having to have any specific hardware in place. In addition to this, we are going to release the next version of Veeam Backup Replication in the coming few months, and we're going to actually have object storage as a primary target as well. So this means that if you are going also to use the object storage as a primary target, you could also enable the immutability and you will be all set and protected against ransomware. So basically now we have created those ransomware protected backups. But how could we guarantee that those protected backups don't have any corruption or there is no corrupted blocks? How could we know that there is no virus sleeping in these ransomware protected backups? And here it comes the automated verification that Veeam can help us to do. So basically, after we create our backups, we can configure the sure backup job, the automated verification job, where Veeam, based on a schedule that we can define, can start our virtual machines inside an isolated lab environment and test and verify the recoverability of my application, which could be combined of multiple virtual machines. So the virtual machine started, operating system has started normally. The application, which is the most important part of the operation, is responding to the tests that we have within our verification test. And guess what? We can also do antivirus scanning and use your antivirus solution using the most recent signatures of the antivirus to scan the backup data against any sleeping viruses and so on. And once the test is completed, we'll power off the virtual machines and then send you the test result and tell you that this backup data, this restore point is marked now as recoverable. We have performed the test on your behalf. There is no virus or malware sleeping in your backups. In addition to this, that automated verification and the automated scanning is not only limited to be scheduled. You can do it on demand whenever needed. So if you decided to go to your backups that were created by Veeam at any point of time, you need to do on-demand restore, whether to the original location on your VMware or Hyper-V environment, or maybe to the public cloud as well. You can just tick the box while doing the restore operation to do that secure restore, where Veeam will engage your antivirus solution and then use again the most recent signatures of that antivirus solution to scan the entire restore point that might have been created maybe a month ago or maybe a few months back. And if a virus is found, we give you a pop-up window and tell you, would you like to continue scanning your restore point and maybe not connecting to the network, or you just want to abort the operation, something like that. Now, another important question, how fast can I recover my operation? So my backups are now ransomware protected. I don't have any corruption. But if we look at the downtime, downtime definitely means money. We are spending a lot of money or losing a lot of money because of that downtime, and we need to avoid that. So earlier in the days when we introduced Veeam in the first time back then in 2006, we invented instant recovery as the fastest possible way to recover virtual machines. And since then, we have been improving our instant recovery engine and extending its capability to not only be able to do instant recovery for virtual machines, but also now, if we look, we can do instant recovery for databases, also for NAS shares, and definitely for physical servers as well. So if you backed up your virtual machines, if you backed up your Linux and Windows physical servers, and for any reason these servers went down, you can use Veeam to instantly recover those physical servers as virtual machines on VMware or Hyper-V or maybe Acropolis hypervisor as well. More importantly, those critical databases that you backed up from SQL or maybe Oracle standalone databases, you can also go ahead and directly do instant recovery for that backed up database and reduce your downtime from hours down to few minutes and get that database up and running. The same applies to the NAS shares that you backed up using Veeam. You can do instant recovery for those NAS shares. But will the failover to DR work in case of a disaster? So now we're talking about the disaster recovery part of the solution and how we can give you the confidence in your DR strategy and your DR operation, and that whenever you decide to switch the operation to the DR site, you will be successful. So if we look at Veeam portfolio, what we need to do actually, or what every one of those customers, when I start having the conversation with them, is looking to have ideally. He's looking for automation. He's looking for performing that DR drill non-disruptively. We don't need to bring our operation down and then switch the operation to the DR site and have that long downtime in order to verify that our disaster recovery plans are intact and disaster recovery failover will be working. And here it comes that the role of the Veeam disaster recovery orchestration layer that can help us test and verify and execute our disaster recovery failover plans. And when I talk about disaster recovery, I'm not only talking about those virtual machines that you might be using Veeam to replicate. We have extended that DR orchestration also to the backup data. So you can use the Veeam disaster recovery orchestrator to create and perform that DR drill for your virtual machines and the failover plans. You can use it also for the backup data. So you can create DR orchestration plans for the backups as well. And when you create these failover plans, you can set some what-if scenarios. And maybe if my DR operation is starting with a specific group of virtual machines, and for some reason, one of them in the sequence that you've created in your failover plan is not starting as expected, maybe we can do something else. We can send a notification email and restart the service or something like that. So all of these scenarios have been already considered in the Veeam disaster recovery orchestrator. And more importantly, from compliance point of view, the tool can create for you some reports about your DR readiness from infrastructure point of view, about the results of the execution of that DR drill non-disruptively inside isolated lab environment, and also when we actually decide to switch the operation from the primary site to the DR site to perform the actual DR drill. And all of these reports and documents gets updated automatically by the tool, and we can schedule these DR drill that we perform for specific services whenever we need, and based on the criticality of the service. So this way, we will have ransomware protected backups. We will have none or virus-free backups that we can rely on. We will not have any corruption in our backup data, and our disaster recovery plans will be ready because we have tested that. So as a wrap up here, if we look at the recovery challenges that I started the presentation with, and whether we have covered these points or not, is my backup data protected against ransomware, and what is the framework that we've used? So the answer is simply Veeam immutable backups across multiple tiers, and the NIST cybersecurity framework. How fast we can recover our operation? We've spoken already about the Veeam instant recovery for virtual, physical, NAS, and databases. Is my backup data reliable and recoverable? Thanks for Veeam automated verification test that we call it Sure Backup, and also thanks for Secure Restore that will give us the guarantee that our backups are virus-free. Do we have the reports? Definitely. Out of the box, Veeam has got more than 150 plus reports categorized as monitoring reports, health status for the protected environment, as well as the backup data, from capacity planning, also from auditing, like who restored what and when, or who changed what and when. All of these types of reports are already included in the tool or the platform. In addition to this, from disaster recovery point of view, Veeam disaster recovery orchestration will help you test, plan, execute, and document your disaster recovery operation. That was all from my side. Thank you so much for that. I hope the session was informative.
Thank you very much, Mr. Islam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Presentation.
Thank you. If there is any question, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, if there's any question in the chat here, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
I think
otherwise, the team
your colleagues have
reach
addressed the questions there, so we can skip that.
All right. Okay, that's good.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Islam.